So our next speaker will be Professor Uduma. He was supposed to speak to us in the morning, but unfortunately he was not here. So Professor Ramesh, please, you will speak after Professor Uduma. So Professor Uduma is from the National Open University of Nigeria. He'll be speaking to us on, does African logic have any role in AI design? Professor Uduma, we are happy to hear your lecture.
Thank you very much, Ms. Amara. Sorry, I had challenges. I couldn't come on immediately. Briefly, I will go on to discuss my paper. And hello.
We can hear you,
Hello.
Prof. We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Excuse me, I want to share my slide.
Hello, Professor Uduma. Can you see the green button below?
Yeah, I'm trying to share my slide. Yeah.
Okay, please go on.
Hello.
Yes, we can see your screen and we can hear you.
And we can hear you too.
Thank you. Oh, what's wrong? That the first page? Oh.
The page we can see starts with integrating epistemic insights into AI design.
Yeah, I think let me come back.
Okay.
That's one wahala with loading all this thing.
Wow. Okay, now. Okay, I'm on. Thank you very much. You can now see the one with the title.
Yeah.
The title of my paper is, does African logic have any role in AI design?
That's not the one we can see. That's not the one we can see, sir. Yeah.
That's serious. What can you see now? What are you seeing now?
Still the old one, integrating epistemic insights into AI design.
Excuse me.
Maybe you should stop sharing and try again.
Yeah. I'll stop sharing.
Okay, please try to share
so start
it again.
Back to the same old thing. Is it the same old thing that's coming up?
It's loading. It's loading. So yeah, the correct one now. Your slides are up. You can go on.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry for the mix-up. Like you said, that's the problem with loading too many things when you want to do this. Yeah, the first question I try to answer is the question of, does African logic exist? And I decided to address this question because more often than not, it is crucial, I believe, to navigate the question of African logic, indeed, any regional logic, by upholding the universality of logic. Certain principles of logic are universal, while simultaneously acknowledging the diverse ways they are expressed and applied across cultures. And I do this particularly because Chimakonam, my good collaborator, we have had issues about the question of African logic, and he normally says I'm a universalist. But I bring this point because I admit that there is African logic, but that there are also core principles of logic which are universal. And when we accept that there are core principles of, certain principles, core principles of logic that are universal, these principles are not culturally contingent. They are necessary for any system of reasoning. And then again, I also subscribe to this, that the human brain, regardless of cultural background, possesses the capacity for logical reasoning. The capacity is rooted in our shared cognitive architecture, while cultural influence shape how we use this capacity. And that is where the issue of regional logic comes up. So that while we admit the issue of core principles, and that we have regional expressions of logic, which validates the question that there is an African logic. Having said that, now when we talk about this regional logic, it's an expression of, when we talk about regional logic, what does it do? The regional logic is an expression of the human intellectual traditions, certain traditions that we listen. So instead of focusing solely on the outcome of logical reasoning, we also focus on the processes involved. And when we focus on the processes involved, we now examine the diverse processes of reasoning. And it is these processes, it is when we focus on this process, not just the outcome, that will justify that there are various regional logic. The essence of this is that there is an inclusive logic. There is an inclusive logic. An inclusive logic here is what I might call an inclusive epistemology, that recognizes that there are multiple valid ways of knowing and reasoning. I take this approach regularly because the tendency for us to avoid privileging some form of logic, like Western logic, because more often than not, when we talk of logic, the best thing, the natural thing is for people to think of Western logic. But when we think of an inclusive epistemology, we recognize that there are multiple valid ways of knowing and reasoning. And this is differentiated in the processes. So by adopting this perspective, we can define, yes, that is a universal foundational logical principles, while simultaneously acknowledging and celebrating the rich diversity of regional expressions. This approach fosters cross-cultural understanding and avoids the pitfalls of both cultural relativism and Eurocentric logic. And that was why, taking from that distinction, I began to interrogate my paper. Even as you was catching the listing, I talked of epistemic insights. I was not talking about logic in that sense, because why do I talk about epistemic insights? Now, the shifting the focus from logic to epistemic insights in discussing regional variations offers a more accurate and respectful approach for several reasons. Because by the time we talk about epistemological insights, we are interested in the patterns of knowledge, and which we know differ from clime to clime. The principles governing our reasoning might, like human beings, are universal, but the application, and that's why I preferred the locution epistemic insight, because cultural context, because I'm in the cultural context, epistemic insight allows us to acknowledge that knowledge is always has a cultural content, which shapes the meaning and the applications. It is this cultural content that will shape the meaning and content of knowledge. That's why I prefer that locution. And of course, it also brings to focus the issue of epistemic pluralism. Epistemic insights supports epistemic pluralism, which is the acceptance of multiple valid ways of reasoning. That was why in the abstract, I said most aptly called epistemic insight, so that we are avoiding the issue of cultural specificity. We are not talking about cultural specificity here now, because we're talking about logic. So in what we did with that is that we come to the conclusion that epistemic insights provides a more accurate, respectful, and inclusive way for us to talk about the different intellectual traditions of different cultures. And so with that, we were now able to answer the question, does African logic have any role to play in AI design? Because if we have accepted that, yes, we have various epistemic, different epistemic insights, and then we talk about, and when we're addressing the question of does African logic have any role to play in AI design, we can say yes. And why are we saying that? Why are we saying so? If we have the AI design we have currently is dominated by Western equivalent logic, truth, false value, kind of logic. And artificial intelligence, as we know it, is based on this Western logic, which are the Boolean algebra or Boolean logic, predicate logic. That is the building blocks of AI that we're discussing today. And this has yielded some problems, because AI has gone beyond what we know. The limitations imposed by Western equivalent logic. Because we are building systems designed to interact with and understand diverse world, yet we are grounding them in a culturally specific framework. There is a problem. Because we are building on the foundation of Boolean logic or equivalent logic, there is a problem, and that problem raises the question. The fundamental question it raises: are we missing crucial insights by neglecting other logical systems? If Western logical tradition is anchored on equivalent logic, and we are building AI on it, then the problem: are we not neglecting something? And because of neglecting something, that is why we are fast to say that, yes, African logic have a role to play in AI design. That then took us to the issue of challenging the monolithic view of logic. Now, the question of African logic, like question we have asked, if you look at the Venn diagram I have here, they are positioned in totally. On the left side, you have African epistemic insights. On the right side, you have the Western formal logic. And then now show what they share, the shared grounds, this thing. And if you look at this, Western logic, we've indicated that, look, what it emphasizes is Boolean logic, predicate logic, deductive reasoning, axiomatic systems, and then emphasis on binary truth values. But if you talk about African epistemic insights, what do we have? We have contextual reasoning. We have relational ontology, as you will see in Ubuntu. We have complementarity, as you see in the logic. You have oral traditions. You have proverbs. You even have divination systems like Defa, Dipia. These are divination systems, Okonko. And the African logic also, or African atomic insights also emphasize interdependency. It emphasizes the dispute resolution. The emphasis on social harmony is there with African epistemic insight, which is what is lacking in the foundation of AI. So African epistemology offers alternative framework for understanding and representing knowledge, which can enrich AI. And what are there are a number of African logical systems that have been developed. Ubuntu, Ezumezu, of course, the other traditions, no matter how fluid they are, they constitute a definite aspect of African insights that offer framework for understanding human knowledge. And these are what we can borrow from African logic. And if we can borrow them, in which areas can we apply them? These insights can be applied in various areas. Ethical AI. Ubuntu and other African ethical frameworks can inform the development that will account for transparency in AI, the role of AI systems that prioritize fairness, transparency, and accountability. You also look at, we mentioned the issue of contextual reasoning. African proverbs and traditions emphasize the importance of context, which can improve AI's ability to handle ambiguity and real-world complexities. The other potential we can look at is knowledge presentation. African symbolic systems and narratives offer a lot that we can borrow that will enrich AI knowledge bases. So when you are talking about when you are building AI, there is much that we can borrow from Africa that can also help. Even the issue of conflict resolution, this logic of in Africa about dispute resolution, conflict resolution, it can inform the development of AI systems that can mediate conflicts and promote cooperation. What of African logic can also provide insights that will help us develop pattern recognition. Divination, divination, and other African systems of divination offer alternative approaches to data analysis, not just the pattern that we have that we use. I remember there are certain clothes, certain wrappers you wear, and if you go to some parts of Nigeria where I stay, some of the symbols they see, the people that know what that the symbols are will give you a different interpretation. If you now apply that to AI, how would we operate with it? So pattern recognition, there is much that can be borrowed from African symbols. I, however, tried to talk about we talk about African logic. These insights we have discussed, Ubuntu, ethical framework, it offers. The ethical framework, it offers the contextual reading, all this, and then I decided to look at UNESCO logic specifically. I decided to look at UNESCO logic specifically to bring to, because UNESCO logic is one of the African systems of logic that has been quite developed recently, and there is much to learn from it. I was talking about the UNESCO logic. Recognize that the basic thing about the UNESCO logic is that is a logic that emphasizes complementarity and holistic reasoning. So that the emphasis on Ezume's logic is on complementarity. And if Ezume's logic talks about complementarity, that means it has much to offer. When you talk about complementarity in Ezume's logic is saying that it's then seen as a logic of completion. It posits that seemingly contradictory or opposing elements are not mutually exclusive, but rather complete each other, which is opposed to Bayesian logic. It also emphasizes that both and approach, moving away from the either or binary type of logic. And Ezume's logic also focuses on integration. It's this idea of integration, excuse me, yeah. When you talk about integration, Ezume's logic is about finding the missing link, the elements that, when combined, create a more complete and accurate picture. It is about recognizing that each element, even those that appear to conflict, have a role to play in the larger whole. Ezume's logic is also said to be holistic. There is implied wholeness. What do you mean by that? By emphasizing the integration of complementary elements, Ezume's logic inherently promotes a holistic worldview. It recognizes that systems and realities are interconnected, and that understanding them requires considering all their parts. Ezume's logic sees that all parts of a system are important to the overall function of that system. And so it acknowledges the interconnectedness of phenomena, suggesting that understanding any single element requires considering its relationship to others. If you look at these elements of Ezume's logic, you now see that Ezume's logic has the ability to integrate seemingly contradictory elements, making it ideal for AI systems designed to mediate conflicts. It can help AI find solutions that address the needs of all parties involved, even when those needs appear to be mutually exclusive. Ezume's logic facilitates consensus building. By emphasizing logic of completion, Ezume's can guide AI in facilitating consensus building processes, helping groups reach agreements that incorporate diverse perspectives. And of course, ethical mediation. Ezume's aligns with ethical mediation by searching for solutions that include the needs of all involved. Now, Ezume's logic will also be helpful in ethical AI and moral reasoning. Many ethical dilemmas involve conflicting values or principles. Ezume's can provide framework for AI to navigate these dilemmas by finding solutions that balance competing considerations. Developing Ezume's logic, you see that with this emphasis on context, it can help AI develop more nuanced and context-sensitive ethical reasoning. It can facilitate the integration of diverse ethical frameworks into AI systems, promoting ethical realism. Using Ezume's logic again, you can also address the both and approach of Ezume's can help AI handle ambiguity and uncertainty by recognizing that multiple interpretations can be valid. So validity is not just something that is straight-jacketed. That multiple interpretations could be valid because of the both and logic that is the basis of Ezume's. Now, Ezume's can facilitate the integration of diverse knowledge sources, even those that appear to conflict, creating more complete and robust knowledge representations. It can guide the development of holistic ontologies that capture the interconnectedness of concepts and relationships. When we integrate multiple perspectives following Ezumezu, it can help AI integrate multiple perspectives and viewpoints when solving complex problems, leading to more comprehensive and effective solutions. It can also help AI balance competing goals and objectives, finding solutions that optimize overall performance. We emphasize that Ezumezu is one of the focuses. Apart from being it is also holistic. So it can help balance competing goals because it's holistic. Now, Ezumezu's logic can be used to create AI that can adapt to changing circumstances by integrating new information and perspectives. Ezumezu can also help AI to understand and respond to human communication that involves ambiguity, nuance, and diverse cultural perspectives. By demonstrating ability to understand and integrate diverse perspectives, AI can build trust with human users. Now, for practical considerations, translating Ezumezu's philosophical principles into computational models will require careful consideration and interdisciplinary collaboration. Therefore, that means that developing appropriate algorithms and data structures to represent and process complementary relationship is essential. By exploring these applications, AI researchers can leverage the unique insights of AI logic to create more intelligent, ethical, and culturally sensitive AI systems. What does this imply? If we can incorporate ethical principles from diverse cultural traditions such as Ubuntu into AI design, we can develop AI systems that are fair, transparent, and accountable. AI systems that implement AI systems that are able to provide explanations that are culturally sensitive. And what will be the benefit? The benefit of it all will be AI systems that can handle context and ambiguity will be better at solving complex problems. It will also improve ethical decision-making. It will also create about cultural sensitivity. And it's when we look at all this, we'll not discover that it will help us decolonize AI, challenging Eurocentric biases and promoting epistemic pluralism is critical. And so the question is not whether African logic can. The question is not whether African logic has a role in AI design. Excuse me. It's rather a call for pluralism. We need to go beyond the paradigm provided by Western logic in the development of AI. By so doing, we can create AI systems that are intelligent, that are, excuse me. Let me read my conclusion from elsewhere. We can create AI designs that are intelligent, ethical, and representative of diverse world that we live in. No longer an AI system or design that addresses issues based on the limited kind of logic that it is built on. So the question whether African logic has a role to play is not contestable. It is actually that it does, because the African insight into reality is more robust. It brings in a lot of like Ezumezu's logic talking about complementarity and being holistic. If you use it as a basis, you discover that the African logic would broaden and go beyond the strictures of formalism, which is being emphasized, to talk about context, to talk about ethical issues, to talk about human relations. And these are issues that if AI address, the aim of AI, of how machines will behave like humans, will be better addressed. And so we are of the view that, yes, African logic has a role to play. It will, the kind of pluralism that we emphasize, the kind of epistemic pluralism that we emphasize will recognize that reality is multifaceted, and therefore will build a more robust AI that will help humanity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof, for your beautiful lecture. So before we go into Q&A for Prof's lecture, I would like to call our next speaker. Please put down your questions or your comments for Prof. After taking the next lecture, then we will take the Q&A.